Why are my lips so pale? One moment, I need to fix this. Okay, not so dead, but still sort of dead. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if it's your first time here, then hi, I'm Shelby. It's very nice to make your acquaintance. Today we are going to be doing something a little bit different here on my channel. Today I thought that I would do a story time video. So if you guys would like to hear about the scariest night of my entire life, then just go ahead and keep on watching. This story happened in fall of 2010. I was studying abroad, so I was in a new country, and with a new country comes many different sort of learning curves that you sort of start to figure out. You grow up really quickly, and that is because you are very independent when you're overseas. You know, you can't call your mommy and daddy to get you out of a situation, and even if you're in a college that is in a different state away from your parents, it's still very different than being abroad, because they can't just hop on a plane and be there in 4 hours max. You know, it's gonna be like 13 hours, and so there's just a lot of weird things that can happen while you're over there, and you have to sort of deal with all these things by yourself. So I was studying abroad in Vienna, Austria with my university. The first couple of weeks, you're not really taking a ton of classes. You're kind of exploring the city. You're getting to know things in the city. And also you weren't allowed to travel to other countries just yet. So with study abroad, typically you are allowed to travel on the weekends. Our weekends were Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we would have class back in Vienna, Austria, which is where our home base was, Monday through Thursday. So we had only been there a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and we were still in Vienna, Austria. And so at this point, being there for 3 weeks, we felt that we sort of knew the city. Vienna is a really small city. It's probably the size of Nashville, Tennessee. So we kind of figured out the subway system pretty quickly. On one school night, I want to say that it was like a Wednesday, me and my roommate Megan, who I absolutely love. Megan, I miss her so much, and I also wanted to include her real name just because she's no longer here with us on this earth. I don't want to talk about it too much, or I'm going to get really emotional, but I just love telling stories that include her in it because she was one of my best friends. And so this night was insane, and we talked about it for so many years after it happened. So me and Megan decided that we wanted to go out. We wanted to go to a cafe. They're very popular in Vienna and all across Europe. We thought we were gonna go out and have a girls' night, and we thought it would be so much fun to get on the U-Bahn, which is their subway system in Vienna, get on the U-Bahn and just get off at a random stop. We're gonna get out, find a little restaurant or a cafe, maybe have a drink or something, because the legal drinking age over there is, I believe, 16 or maybe 18 in Vienna. I'm not quite sure. But we just wanted to have some fun, and it was pretty early, but it wasn't so early that it was still sunny out. It was dark at this point. I want to say it was like 7 o'clock at night. And so we thought, all right, let's go out. We got this. We don't need any boys. We're good. So we hop on the U-Bahn, and we decide to go 4 stops past the main city center. So we take the subway, we go a couple stops, we see that we're at the city center, and we decide to go 4 more stops after the city center. Now, we always felt like the stops weren't very far apart, maybe like a block or 2. They were really short stops. You would be riding on the subway for maybe 30 to 45 seconds before it would stop again. And so we felt that we weren't going to be far enough outside of the city that it would be weird. However, we were wrong. We get to our stop, and all of a sudden we realize there's just not a lot of people in sort of the subway terminal area. We decide to walk up and go up the escalators and walk up the stairs to get out onto street level. So once we get out onto street level, we realize that we are not in a good place. We are not in a good area. All we see is one street light that's hanging down, and there's a group of about 10 grown men all standing in a circle underneath this lamp post. It was seriously like out of a movie. It was so scary looking, and it just felt super sketch. Like, it felt like we had just accidentally walked in on some like mafia meeting or like drug deal or something. It was just super weird. We see this, and we also see some guys in the group turn around and look at us, and we just both turned around. We didn't even have to say anything. We just kind of looked at each other and we were like, yep, we're going closer to the city center. We go downstairs, and while we're walking down the stairs, we noticed that two guys from that group of guys who were underneath the streetlight had followed us. Not necessarily followed us, but they were also getting on the U-Bahn. And so we were like, this is weird, but you know, it could just be a coincidence. They could be trying to go into the city a little bit more. You know, we have no idea. So we hop on the subway. We feel safe enough because we're not the only ones in the U-Bahn, and we go 2 more stops closer to the city center. We still don't really know what the stop is, but at this point, we're not even thinking about the guys. We're just like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so much fun. Wasn't that super weird? Like, I thought the city was a lot bigger than it appears to be, but whatever, we'll find a cafe. So our U-Bahn finally stops and we get off, and we also notice that these 2 guys then get up and they're also getting off at the same stop, which was a little weird. We soon realized that we are the only people in this entire subway station. It was really, really creepy, and it was one of those subway stations where it's not like you have to go up 1 level and you're on street level. It was like you have to go up 3 separate like flights of stairs or escalators to get up to floor level. But we also noticed that this was an S-Bahn stop. So the U-Bahn was like a city subway. The S-Bahn actually went to all parts of Austria, so you could take the S-Bahn to get to other cities like Salzburg or Hallstatt or anything like that outside of Vienna. It was just like a train within the state. So we were assuming that's why it was so big, but I just wanted to tell you guys that because it will come up later in the story. As we are going up the escalator, we notice that these guys are sort of talking to each other. They're kind of staring at us and then like would say something, and they weren't in close proximity to where we could exactly hear what they were saying. I am a German minor, so I could speak some German. Even if they were talking in English, they wouldn't have been close enough for us to necessarily hear. So me trying not to be paranoid, I was trying to explain away, oh, like it's just coincidence. They're just here. We're fine. Vienna is a really safe city. We should be okay. We're together, you know, and I'm just saying this in my head, and I start noticing my friend Megan getting just very nervous. She's walking a lot faster. She's walking way ahead of me, so I'm having to walk a lot faster to catch up with her. And I also notice her just like her hands are clenched, and I get right next to her and she is like, these guys are following us. And I was like, no, it's fine. And then out of the corner of my eye, we can see them like getting closer and gaining on us. And so like our distance, say we're here and they're here, they are now up here. And we were walking pretty quick, and so we just felt kind of weird. So I'm like, no, we're fine, you know, I have my pepper spray on me, it'll be okay. And I start fumbling through my purse to try and find my pepper spray that I had brought on the trip with me, and I had carried every single day except for this one night. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have my pepper spray. And so I just grabbed my keys and I put them in between my fingers, so if they were to get too close or try to attack us, I could attempt to get them away with like a key to the eye or something. I don't know. Someone told me that it's kind of like last resort, obviously, that you want to do. But in that moment, we had nothing to protect us besides ourselves. All of a sudden, they're gaining on us, and I start freaking out internally because I don't know what to do. My palms are sweaty, my heart is racing, and so I tell Megan, I say, we're going to run in 3, 2, 1. And as soon as I say 1, me and Megan both take off sprinting. We are just trying to figure out where this exit is, and there was actually a lot of construction going on, and so they had built up like these wooden walls that weren't supposed to be there, and there was like the clear tarp that was hanging down to the ground. I mean, it was like trying to get through a maze and a horror story. It was seriously so terrifying because you couldn't see exactly where the exit was or if you were going in the right direction. So we just kept running, hoping that we wouldn't get to a dead end, because if we got to a dead end or we were in a corner or we didn't know how to get out, then we would just be screwed. And we also noticed that as soon as we take off, these two guys start running after us. In my mind, I was like, they totally were following us, and we are just like freaking out. Our hearts are pumping. We're running so fast. Finally, thank goodness we didn't have to run very far. We get out and we immediately bolt into the street. Like, there are cars coming, there is oncoming traffic, but at this point we're just like, we would rather be hit by a car than be captured by these two guys. We end up running to the other sidewalk and just walking really quickly in one direction, and luckily we felt a little bit safer because there were a lot of people, luckily, thank goodness, at this stop and outside. It was still, you know, like I said, around 7:30 or something, so it was still like people were out, it was still active, and we see these guys also run out, and you can tell that they're just kind of trying to figure out where we went. They're trying to look for us, and we are just trying to find a cafe. So we immediately find a cafe, we bolt in, and we sit down and we order some drinks because Lord knows at that moment we desperately needed them. We are terrified. I have sweat like rolling down my sides. My hands are like clammy, and we were both just like so, like, I was shaking like this. I've never been so terrified in my entire life. So we ordered 2 shots of tequila. We take those and we hang out at the cafe for about 2 hours because we don't feel comfortable, you know, leaving after 30 minutes, because the likely chances of them hanging out there or, you know, being out on the street or being in the subway station is very likely. And so we just decide, you know what, we're just gonna hang out here and wait it out. We also don't have our phones on us because our phones didn't work over there. I didn't pay for an international plan, and the phone that I did have was really crappy, and it only worked within the vicinity of our little apartment. And so it just, like, we couldn't call anyone to come and pick us up or to walk back with us or call our teacher or anything. Finally, after about 2 hours of drinking, we decided to head back home, and we walk to the U-Bahn station. We go down to the train area and we're waiting for a train, and we're like, man, it's taking a really long time. Finally, our train arrives, we get on it, and we immediately walk in, and I'm like, wow, this train is really nice. There were padded seats, it was super clean and smelled great, and we were also the only people in the entire cart. And so we were like, wow, this is a little weird. It's very rare to be alone in a subway. It doesn't matter the time of day, it's just normally you're gonna have one other person in your cart. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Well, let's see how many, you know, stops we have to take until we get to the brown line, so then we can switch our train and go back home. We were thinking we're on the orange line. So I look up at the map, which is normally on the side of the subway, and it's the most confusing map I've ever seen. There's like 300 listings of like subway stops, and it branches off into all these little things, and I can't figure out how to read this map, and I'm just like, wait, where are we? It doesn't take us very long to realize that we got on the S-Bahn, not the U-Bahn. Oh no! So we are on the S-Bahn, and I have no idea how the S-Bahn works, but I'm afraid that it's going to take us outside of the city like 3 hours before it stops. And so we're freaking out, and we're like screaming like, let us off the train. And it's like, Is the conductor really gonna hear us? No. We're like so many cars behind, and we're just praying that it stops soon enough so that we can then take it back and get to the same subway station so we can take our U-Bahn instead of the S-Bahn. So luckily it stops about 2 minutes later. We get off and we go to the car on the other side. We get back on the S-Bahn and we take it back to our subway stop. We finally get on our U-Bahn. We are shaking. I'll insert some pictures here. We took a lot of pictures just to like make ourselves feel better and to document the night, because we were terrified. Like, we were so scared and our heart was pumping so fast that I had like this adrenaline high, and we were just like, oh my gosh, we can karate chop and like kick these guys in the butt, and like, we're strong, independent women, don't mess with us. Then once we got home, we immediately ran up to my boyfriend at the time's apartment and his friend's apartment, and we all were like a little foursome. We were all best friends and we all hung out together. It was so much fun. And so we went up to the guy's room and we are like shaking. We're like, oh my gosh, we have to tell you about this story. The guys just thought it was funny, and I ended up having to throw away the shirt that I wore that night because my sweat stains would not come out in the wash. I've never seen sweat stains so bad that they don't come out of the wash. After that, we just laughed about it and we would talk about it all the time. We kind of swore to each other to like at least not tell my parents until we got back from Vienna, because I didn't want to be coming home early, and I know that my parents would have a cow if they found out that we were almost like robbed, attacked, sold into sex slavery by these two guys. I don't know what they would have done with us if they had caught us. I don't know if they were trying to rob us or worse, but it just was very scary, and thank goodness I'm alive to tell the tale. Alright guys, so that is it for today's story time. If you guys liked this video and you like story time videos, then just go ahead and give me a thumbs up so that I know that you like story time videos. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that little subscribe button down below, become a member of our small but growing family, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!